Hey now.
Hey now.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. And if you are just watching us, we are also on all the audio platforms. And if you're just listening to us, then you can watch us on YouTube as well and see this as you listen.
As it unfolds.
As it unfolds. Dun, 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 dun.
Right.
So today we have a very fantastic guest. I think fascinating in the subjects that she excels in. This is Missy Sunseri. And let's, you want to explain a little bit?
Yeah.
Well, we want you to explain, but we're just going to lead you in.
Hi, Missy. Thank you for having me on here. I'm very excited. I am a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, and a medium. So I use all three together to do different types of hypnosis. I work with people to talk to their past loved ones. Also, I work with PTSD and trauma, confidence, and I created the flow state method, which is a method that I created for athletics, performance, anything like that puts you automatically in that flow state. So I work with the subconscious mind and helping people realize what they can potentially do with themselves and that they don't have to sit in their struggle.
Can you expand on what NLP is for the people who don't know?
So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. It sounds very wordy, but a lot of people know Tony Robbins. And he is the master at NLP. So I learned from somebody who taught from him and took the long course in the training in it. But NLP is how we all have our own internal systems. So the way I interpret a conversation is different than the person next to me. So understanding how your internal system works, then you're able to make those changes in your life.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool.
It's fascinating.
I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. He helped change my life some years ago when I first found him and just binged and started doing affirmations and, his hour of power. And yeah, it's really, really very strong work he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell us about you. So here's what we do is we drop a topic on our guests and then let them think about it, expand on it, and whatever.
Okay.
We want to do. So our topic is, would you like to drop it?
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's like, yeah.
I'm always dropping them. You drop it.
You do drop it. How does one who's gone through a massive tragedy transform that into a complete life upliftment?
Working with the subconscious is a huge thing. You can do talk therapy for your whole life and continue to talk, but that's 5% of your brain. And I work with the 95. So my suggestion is to reframe what you're going through. Reframe the trauma and take the power of it. That you're going to kick that trauma as you know what. And I'm not going to let this bring me down. And when you decide to change for yourself and make that step, that is when the magic happens. When you are in the darkness is when the change happens, is when the goodness happens. And it's hard to see it at that time. So having community, someone or just one friend to tell you that you can do it. One friend that supports you that's like, you can get through this. And taking those steps to just, and I'm not saying you gotta dive into some Buddhist monks thing. I'm saying take a step every day to shift that perspective. Take a step every day to better yourself. And before you know it, you will be out of that tunnel and you will be like, whoa, this is exactly where I wanted to be. It's taking that strength in those dark times and not letting them win.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I so much of the stuff you're saying and so much of the stuff that I read in your bio definitely correlates with a lot of the things that I do in practice to try to be the best version of myself I can be and as authentic.
Me
and
too.
Right. I mean, I think, and I love what you're saying about the psychological part of it, because it is difficult when you've come out of PTSD, trauma, any CPTSD. You and I had a discussion about this, and it is hard to flip this switch and just, say, okay, I'm not going to think about this anymore. I'm going to be okay. But what I like about the way you do things is you get to the root of it. You go back to the story, get to the root of, okay, so what actually happened? What was the trauma? And what is the trigger? What is the thorn that keeps driving, so that every time, because as you know, everything is like a snapshot. So when we start talking about an old trauma, it's like a snapshot. We're right back
it again.
Right. And we're right
and
back.
The emotions are there. It's as if you're doing it all over again.
And you feel like, almost like if you close your eyes, you would feel like it's almost the first time. And that's why, and all these feelings come up.
The difference.
Right. And for me, I get it in my stomach. Like I literally feel sick to my stomach. And then I get an overwhelming feeling of just weightedness, and I feel bogged down, and I feel anxiety, and then I feel like, what's wrong with me? I can't perform. This isn't me. But to get to the root of it and the whole psychological part, I really think it's the only way to, like you were saying, that the talk therapy. I've been to talk therapy, and you could put me on a couch for 50 minutes and tell me this, that, or anything. And they're not telling you anything. You're telling them your story. And then it's like, well, do you give me homework? Can I work on some stuff? Where your modalities with the hypnosis, I love, because you don't even have to take anything home with you. You're doing it right there. You're getting to the root of it. Here's what we're doing. And it's not
talk about that.
And it's not like you got to go home and think about it. So can you elaborate more on?
Yeah, tell us your process a little bit more on how you work with people.
So, a lot of people want to get better, but they're comfortable in their anxiety and depression. Or they're like, I'm doing all of these steps to lose weight, but they're not losing weight because they have something in the back of their mind that's still holding them down. So by getting to the root, it might have been someone said something to you when you were 5 years old. It might have been, a big trauma that you don't remember because you blocked it out. So what I do is I take them in, and we get to the root of that age when it first started happening. Because when you think about those reactions, those triggers from PTSD, when you have that strong anxiety and everything, it's almost like this little child comes out. And so what I like to do is I like to get to the root. We reframe it. Find out, why did it show up? Usually, a lot of that times, that root showed up to actually protect them when they were a child. So then they understand, oh, it's not this bad thing. It was there to protect me. Now I can release it and replace it with how I want to feel. And what I do then is I bring around that child of that age, and we heal that child, give them that replacement of what we replaced it with, and hand it to that child. And so then that brings the healing to now. So we find that original string, and we reframe it and replace it with what they want to feel like. So say they were hiding because they were actually beat down as a child. Okay? This is what we're going to replace it with is confidence. You're this light. You are, and we bring this confidence into them and literally use the opposite of how they were feeling. So then we replace them, and then I have them overall keep bringing it up inside their self, so then it becomes a known inside their self. It becomes that neural pathway. And so when you said about kind of being earlier about something being wrong with you when you feel like, oh, I have anxiety, something's wrong with me, that's the biggest thing people get stuck in. They think something's wrong with them. When these things in society happen to them, you at 7 years old did not ask for this or did not do something wrong to receive it. And that's the biggest thing people get stuck in, is thinking there's something wrong with them. And that's why they don't ask for help. Or they don't want to go in and do the work because then, oh, I show my vulnerable side and then there's something wrong with me and I have something going on up there.
Wow, you hit on something huge. They don't want to go for help because they think that something's wrong with them. I've done so much on the self-care, self-healing work on myself, and that concept is the root. Because I always wonder, why don't more people do this stuff? Why don't they do it? Because they are afraid that something is really wrong with them. They feel like something is wrong with them. And you'd think that that would be the catalyst to go and do the work. But no, there's the shame attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
You go, oh, I can't, because then they're going to see that there's something wrong with me.
Trauma goes back so far, like you said, and I don't think there's so many of us out in the world that don't even realize that we're walking around with trauma, or that something in our past triggered us, because we are all, like you said, programmed up to the age of 7.
Yeah,
I'll tell you,
no idea.
I'll tell you a quick little story really quick, like what Felina was just saying. Back in the day when I lived in New York, I was married, and I was about maybe 26. I had just gotten married. I got in the car. We were having trouble. I said to my father, because I worked with him, we were driving to work, and I said, Dad, I said, we're having a difficult time, my wife and I, Therese, and we're thinking about going to therapy. My father literally looked over at me and said, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you go to therapy, you're admitting you're fucked up. But that's the old-fashioned belief, right? So then it coincides with what you said of, we think something's wrong with us, so then now we're embarrassed to even go ask for help.
That's it. That's exactly. He doesn't want to admit.
Well, I was hurting, and I figured, my father should be a safe place, and I should tell him what I think I'm going to do. And then he took that reaction, like you're saying, say, oh, no. We don't admit that there's anything wrong. But how could you possibly heal if you don't think anything's wrong?
And if you don't admit it.
So then you walk around like a zombie through life.
Exactly.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, you walk around with that. You're literally they're living in fight or flight. So, you want to know why you had that reaction. It actually wasn't you, it was your trauma. And people don't understand that once they relieve the trauma, they're not going to have these reactions that they consider there's something wrong with them.
And I was having trouble in my marriage because of the trauma that I went through as a kid with my father. So it came full circle. It's so interesting to talk to someone like you, and then, get these revelations, and it all, right. And it all comes full circle. How it's beautiful.
I actually didn't ask what your pronouns are. What are your pronouns?
Oh, she, her.
Okay. So that's what it does, is it get people to, you're illuminating our minds just as you are meant to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing is people think that their parents are supposed to have these emotions down and are supposed to be emotionally mature, when those generations were not taught how to deal with their emotions. So there's trauma involved in that with people, and understanding, wait, maybe my mom or dad wasn't taught how to deal with their emotions. So how could I go and expect them to know how to deal with mine? And it's kind of also, you don't go try to heal where your trauma started. So asking your dad for help where your trauma started never works out well.
That's like going to the hardware store for milk.
Yes, exactly. You're not going to find it. You might find a guy in the warehouse with a little bit left that might be not too good to try, and you end up getting sick.
And it's a multi-generational disease, like you just said. So it's been passed down from generation to generation to generation.
When they didn't have the language on how to deal with it, that's why it got passed down.
Right.
You're not allowed to go and do the healing, then how do you even stop it from being passed down?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Until one of us thinks, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. Something, I'm not kidding you, growing up, I didn't feel like I was a part of my family. I thought there's something different or wrong with me, because I don't understand why they're not more nurturing, or, and unfortunately it happens because of the generational gaps. And also now in this day and age, I think it's a lot more acceptable to, try to find some modalities that could help, because we don't want to walk around in pain and, discomfort.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the modalities that you use. Because you alluded to in your bio, but you didn't say that one of the reasons we thought of the topic that we did is because of, you said that a family tragedy happened, and that catapulted you to be where you are today. And I was thinking, people are going.
Actually, it's weird. Yesterday was my was going to be my brother's 40th birthday. And I lost my brother when I was 21 and he was 24. And when you have a big death in your life, it shifts your perspective so fast. And I was in school for marketing business. I wanted to make fun commercials. And then as soon as my brother died, I switched to psychology. And I, always felt that I was able to understand people and be able to kind of make everybody in the room feel comfortable. And I always was the leader on my sports team and confident. And I was just like, I want to be able to help people understand that they're not alone. And that's the biggest thing about emotions, is like people think they're alone with them. And you're not alone. Everyone is going through something at some extent. And by me going through and doing the work myself, and I had another tragedy end up happening to me. I had a severe stalker and an abusive relationship. And I did the healing work myself, and I literally signed up for hypnotherapy right after. Because I was like, everybody needs to feel this. And if I have to be the one who spills all my tea out there and be an inspiration for somebody to understand they can do it, then that's what I'm going to do. We need people like that. We got to speak our truth and our darkness that we've gone through in order for it not to just be like this love and light, hop on the healing train, It's like, hey, it's work. But like, I'm here with you. You got other people going through it, and you're going to get through it.
Well, there's strength in numbers.
Exactly.
And not to feel alone in your trauma or your tragedy. I mean, we're not unique. We think we're unique because of what we discussed prior, and that, we're afraid to admit that something went so terribly wrong that, now we're feeling, and a lot of times I don't even know if we know that is what triggered us to feel or be, depressed, until you get to the root of it, with some of the modalities that you discussed. And
one of the things too, that this is what we talk about, is we talk about the dark and dirty, because people do need to hear it, because they're going through it. And if you're listening to a podcast and you're hearing a truth come through it, and you didn't even know how to say it in that way, that's one of the reasons why we're having guests like you. We focused this now. It's living your best life. That's our motto for the podcast. Mm-hmm. So we're having people like, how do you overcome things in order to have your best life? Because I'm really inspired by the fact that a tragedy that you had made you go and help so many people. That's really freaking awesome. And that's why I wanted to ask about it. I didn't know if it was too touchy a subject, so I'm glad you shared on that. Mm-hmm. But we have to share about that. I think it's our responsibility, because somebody out there doesn't feel safe sharing. And when somebody else does, they feel like they can. And they might try this wherever they are.
Well, and it's about coming, like I like to say, it's about coming full circle. It's that perfect circle. You start here, you're in trauma. You get enough courage to start working on yourself, whatever that is, whether it's reasoning something out with a friend, a psychologist, a therapist like you, and then you find out different modalities, because now you're willing to be willing, and you're open to, there are different things out there that might restore me to happiness and serenity. So then you work. I mean, I've been on this path for over 30 years, and I now have come to a place where I feel that I have addressed a lot of the trauma in my life. I still have work to do. Don't get me wrong. I'm a work in progress. You and I had discussed that, the other day. But my point is, then you get to a place, you come full circle, and now you get to give back and share. I was here. This is what happened to me. It was horrible. It took me down the rabbit hole. but I found a way. I found people to help me, to guide me. Now I'm here. My trauma doesn't rule me. It doesn't, dictate who I am today. And now I get to give back and share my story so that hopefully someone else coming in new will say, wow, if you could do it, I could do it. You give me inspiration. And that's what you did with this trauma. And it's beautiful that, you can flip the script and turn it all around and help people at the end of the day. I mean, that's what it's all about.
I think a lot of people are going to also be curious about, you said you're a medium.
So, one thing to touch on real fast, though, is a lot of, society, if we were taught about our emotions, if we had one class in school that was like, this is anger, this is this is this, then we would have teenagers not messing up their life and ending up not having, if we really got to learn about our emotions at a young age, then it would help everybody set up to be able to ask for them. And one thing people don't understand is when people are like, I'm so angry. I'm so angry. Anger is sadness. There's no such thing as anger. It's sadness. So when you're angry, being like, what did that trigger that I'm sad about inside of me? And then you can look at, okay, I need, this is something I should release and I need to work on or transmute. I need to, reframe. But I'll go back on the medium thing. So I've been asking my guides, I asked them for about a year every night to find a different way to channel, to be a medium. I don't want a man coming in half of my body and being like, start talking to the person through them. So I noticed, and I keep up on my spiritual hygiene every day. Spiritual hygiene is just taking care of your energetic body, just like brushing your teeth, taking care of your physical body. We have to take care of our energetic body too. I started having people's past loved ones show up in hypnosises. So now I do hypnosis where I open my channel and allow them to use it. I'm just a vessel, and people are actually physically able to see and talk to their dead past loved ones.
Wow.
And as far as I know, I'm the only person to do it. I don't know. I've looked it up. Nobody else in the world does this technique.
Interesting.
So, we actually just filmed 2 people doing it the other day, and I got one of the guys, he had 2 past loved ones that he wasn't sure who was going to show up, and I got them both to come. And I remember after my brother passed away, I talked to these 2 mediums, and they turned off the tape because they recorded it, and they told me something that only my brother and I knew. And I remember the relief I felt. It was this weight off of me. Like, okay, I know he's okay. Because nobody could tell me this. And so we're good. Like, I felt this relief. And now I'm able to give people that. And that's what's beautiful about it. When you see them first see their loved ones, this relief comes over them. That is just so beautiful. And I'm very fortunate to be able to give people that opportunity. It's pretty beautiful.
That is amazing. I'll tell you, after my mom passed when I was only 35. She was my exact age that I am now when she got diagnosed. And I had taken pictures of her the June before. I was a burgeoning or blossoming or whatever photographer, and she posed for me before we knew that she had the big C. And we got these beautiful, beautiful photos. And there's one where she's looking off and she looks so thoughtful. And it just was my mom. It was just the way I thought of her. And I took there was about 20. After she passed, we put them into a coffee table book. Well, I had taken them with film. And in order to put them into a coffee table book, I had to upload the digital images. So I had to have them transferred to digital. When I did that, the photo that I loved the most had a light streak across her. That when and I have the 2 photos still, was not in the original photo.
Mm-hmm.
And over her long dark hair, she had long dark hair, darker than yours, but your length. it was shadowed in where it would not have touched the light. Like the light was light. It didn't hit all the spots because it can't go into the darker. I was like, I just cried because it just, to me, was a sign that she's okay, because it was my favorite photo. Yeah. And she also came up with me in dreams too and said, we're watched over. I just want to tell you, child, we're watched over. We are. And I immediately burst into tears and woke up crying. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It is. It was a very beautiful moment, and it makes me totally, I've always believed in something after, and I believe in reincarnation, but things like that I think are important for us to know, so I can see why people are relieved when they hear you and see you do that. That's fascinating. I love this.
Gives you some clarity, as well. I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there that when a loved one dies, obviously a lot of people don't get closure. My father just passed in December, and I went home 2.5 years ago, and I was so lucky to I was only supposed to be there for 5 days. I wound up spending 5 weeks, but it worked out perfectly. And, one night I carried him up to bed and I just said, Dad, you don't have to worry. I forgive you. Everything is good. I don't want you carrying this with you anymore. And, he cried, I cried, and he, in his own way, said, I wish I would have done things different with you. And I wish things were different. So to some degree, I feel that I did get some closure for myself in the sense that we spent a lot of time together and we were able to forgive one another, and just to let him know. And then I thought about it afterwards, and I thought, wow, what a gift for anyone to come to you and forgive you for the trauma that you put upon me, and that you don't have to worry about this. And then he didn't have to carry that with him when he passed over. Man, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's very beautiful of you to do, too. And people don't understand. They think that forgiving the person is, in a way, like, I'm letting them get away with it, or something like that. Actually, you're taking away something from yourself. A lot of the forgiveness is you're not forgiving them, you're forgiving them to yourself. So it's not exactly like, oh, you're cool, we're all great, everything like that. No, I forgive you. It's okay. Like, this life is short.
Well, and then the forgiveness is, I guess it is a little bit for them, but not really. When you go and forgive somebody for what has been put upon you or bestowed upon you, you're actually forgiving so that you don't have to walk with it the rest of your life. You're laying it down. You're laying your armor down. You're laying your sword down. By what you said, and that people say, well, why should I forgive them? They did this to me. Well, then now you get to carry that, and that's a wound on your heart. My whole philosophy is every day I want to put a little patch on my heart. Whatever I can do to forgive people, because it's only helping me to move through this world weightless and not carrying anything with me. I don't want to be burdened with, guilt or drama or anything that is going to make me feel uncomfortable or weigh me down. The lighter I can be, the happier I can be, the freer I can be of the trauma. You show up then as your authentic self, and you get to move forward. So the work you're doing, I find, especially with the hypnotherapy, I've been thinking about that for a very, very long time. And I just haven't found anyone that I really thought would help me.
And look at what happens. We start this podcast and you guys meet.
Yeah, so we'll talk for sure.
Exactly. We'll be talking.
Yeah, because I believe, and I know this is not anything different than your philosophy, but I do believe that you gotta get into that psyche and into that heart. They're connected, and you gotta heal that stuff in order to free it. And like I said to you the other day, right? First, awareness, acceptance, and action.
Yeah.
You got to be aware that something is wrong, and then you have to accept that it's wrong, or accept that I can be better, and then move through it with the action of seeking help and finding a different way to do it.
Let's see what she said.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like getting somebody Do you have a lot of people who aren't aware that they, because I would think that maybe some people come thinking they want something, and then you realize, yeah, so tell us a little bit about that. Like, how do you work them
So
to?
people will come for certain issues, say, I'll use this example, weight loss.
Okay.
And they come because they want to get thinner, and really, there's something in their subconscious that was either a trauma from when they were younger or something that is actually keeping that weight on. So when we go in and we ask, okay, why is this weight on? Because they're working out every day. And they're like, I'm not losing any weight. What's going on? So when we go into their subconscious, you find out something, they're hiding because of something. Or they don't feel protected in their life right now. Or their inner child didn't feel protected. So this weight is staying on them to feel protected. So I'll go in sometimes, or for a sports, say a sports session. I'll go in and I'll be like, so what happens when you get in your head? And who's talking to them? That voice? I'm like, and whose voice is that? And they're like, it's actually my dad's. And then we'll go into that child, heal that age, and then all of a sudden some things open up that we get to get rid of, and they're ready to go. But then there are some people that come in, as I was saying earlier, for depression or anxiety, but they are very comfortable in it. They really don't, even when they go into their subconscious, there is a resistance. There's a resistance that, wait, if I feel better, then what am I expected to do? Instead of staying in victim mode, and be like, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, so then you don't have to take initiative because you're in victim mode. Because if I heal, then I'm not this depressed person that I've been identifying myself since I was little. It's kind of I think it's really funny when someone says, this is just the way I am. I'm just a sad girl. And I'm like, no, you choose to be a sad girl.
Yeah.
Choices and consequences, right?
Yeah.
You actually are that because you've chosen to be that, or you've not wanted to have something else enough. I think some people come to the conclusion also it's just going to be too much work, or that, how long it's going to take before I do that? Well, yeah, exactly the amount of time that will pass if you hadn't.
Yeah, exactly.
The exact amount of time is going to pass either way. So how do you want to spend your days?
Interesting you say that. When I talk to people, adults, I sponsor adults and stuff. And when I talk to them, I always ask them right out of the gate, I said, do you have a 5-year plan? I said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, write down where you'd like to be in 5 years, whether that's a mate, a partner, a house, a car, a job, where you want to live. And they look at me odd and they said, well, you are in this phase that you've already labeled yourself, and you then have put on this armor to protect yourself, to stay comfortable in what you are thinking, in your process, your thought process.
Wow.
So now if you can have a vision of the future of because like what you were saying, if you can't even see it, how are you going to attain it? And if you keep saying, oh no, I'm just a sad girl. Well, because you're choosing to label yourself as that sad girl. I literally had to write, I wrote 10 pages. I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, because you can reprogram the thought process. We're kind of our own worst enemies when it comes to.
It wasn't like The Shining. It wasn't like The Shining when he said,
yeah, right.
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. It was more reprogramming. We promise.
Well, I do believe you can reprogram yourself, and the modalities that you're using, especially the hypnotherapy, I believe that if you could lay down or sit down and have somebody get to the some of the core issues of why we tick the way we do. So when your thorn gets pushed and you feel uncomfortable and something is wrong, that is an opportunity for you to grow and look at that, not say, oh, here we go again. And
I'm
then
pissed off again.
And then we blame our parents, our ex-relationships. Oh, because they did this to me, that's why I am the way I am today. But you're not even with them anymore. So how could you say that? What are you talking about? So I want to live in the past, but I'm going forward, but I keep looking back.
It's like,
you know?
Not around anymore.
Can you hear me in the back? Hello.
Hello.
Right.
Can you take us, without actually making us go under, through what you do for the hypnotherapy?
Right.
I mean,
We'll be like,
yeah, I could give you, so the beginning, you know, it's kind of like a deep meditation. You're in control the whole time. There's the old kind of, oh, a hypnotherapist is going to make you bark like a chicken or do something you don't want to. That's stage hypnosis. They're not even hypnotherapists. They didn't go to the extended school. They can't work with therapy issues. Those type of people are actually just hypnotists.
Okay.
So there's a difference, hypnotherapist and hypnotist. And I freestyle every one of my sessions. I channel it. Whatever the person's meant to hear comes out of my mouth. I don't think I'm just a vessel for them, but I use a lot of imagery. I take people into their own places, like their own garden, to feel comfortable in where they are in a calm state. So when I take you in, you're in a very calm state, and I'll use imagery. So you could have this, let's say this lemon that shows up, that could be your trauma. You're not physically going back into that feeling or re-experiencing it. It's, what does it look like inside of you? Make that picture. What is that picture? We take out that picture. We talk to it. What does it look like? Okay, now I want you to go inside of that as the picture looking at you. What does it think of you? And when they hear that perspective of that trauma, oh, I showed up because I wanted to protect you when you were 5 years old. So that's why you've been hiding since you were 5. Because I had to protect you to hide from that bad character. So then when they go in and they're like, oh, my trauma isn't this big bad weapon that it came from inside my system, that it's me, it's not you. Something happened. And so we go in and we reframe that and release it and bring what they want. Then once they have this new picture of what they want, I put it inside them and I keep bringing it up and swapping that old picture. Can you get in touch with that old picture? And I keep swapping them back and forth until that old picture can't even be seen or get in touch with. And it's just the new picture. Then I have that age, which they already asked. When did that first show up? What age? First that comes to your mind. They'll be like 4. After they have this new picture inside of them, let's say it's a son. I say, your 4-year-old self's walking around the corner right now and going to go sit on the bench right next to you. And I want you to notice that son splits into 2, and I want you to give her or him that son. And what is his reaction to that? And the kid shows up crying, and always, once they get that piece, that, because their older self is showing them, hey, buddy, I got you. I might have not had you back then, but I got you right now. And nobody might have had you back then, not the person's self. But here is this piece that we healed, and here's it for you. And once they receive it, that brings that child to that healing. And then after that, I will give them a recording that helps them bring up that new picture. I say, make that new picture the background of your phone. Make it this. So every time they bring up that son, they get hit straight with that. Their neural pathway goes straight to our hypnosis, feeling good, feeling confident, just by seeing a sun. So the flow state with the team, a coach could yell anchor out to the whole team. And I used a women's college team as an experiment for this. And a coach can yell out one word, and every girl has their own internal representation, their own sun, that means something different to them. And it pops them straight into game mode, into flow state mode. It literally pushes out all that anxiety, all that overthinking, and they're trained to go right into that state. So if we can train ourselves to go into any state, we can train our minds to go into the positive.
I love that.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating.
I find it
Truly
interesting.
freaking fascinating.
I find it interesting. I've been talking to, quite a few men lately about this. It kind of coincides with what you were just saying, what are the things that we have done in the past to protect ourselves, like those mechanisms, whether it's putting on weight or, working out, to
dating the wrong person,
dating the wrong person, right? So what are the mechanisms that we've done in the past to protect ourselves that now as an adult don't serve us anymore? And it's kind of like what you're saying, in the sense that we carry this baggage, and in our childhood, that baggage or whatever it is that we place there, the armor to protect ourselves, worked. But as an adult, it no longer serves us, but we don't even realize that it no longer serves us because of it's so ingrained in that psyche that we think we have to do it. And I'll be honest, I'm a product of that. As a kid, because of my trauma and and the things that went on, and some of the things that my father said to me, like what you were saying before, your parents said something to you at an early age, and I know exactly what it is now because of the work I've done, but I'd like to maybe delve into it with you a little bit more. But so I started working out like a maniac. And then when that didn't do it, because I felt, okay, I'm this size, but I'm still getting picked on because my 10-year-old boy or 8-year-old boy still feels the way my father told me I felt. So now I had to go into martial arts and Krav Maga and learn how to kill people with a pencil to think, okay, maybe this will make me feel safe. That didn't work. So then I went into therapy and psychology and program, and here we are today. And it was the heart and the head that got me to where I am today. And my point in saying that is, by doing so much lifting and so much fighting, I have so many injuries. I've had over 16 surgeries, and I'm in a lot of pain now. Every day I wake up in pain, and I'm tired of it. But I realized, through what you just said, as well as the work that I've done on myself, that that's where it stems from.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm curious about what you said about the energy work you have to do as well. There's lots to go into. There's lots to go into. God. Your bio is something else.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
another conversation.
Goodness, where do I get started?
Yeah.
But the energy work, because part of that, I mean, do you think that the energy work kind of starts adjusting when you heal these things? Your own.
Yeah, totally. I believe that it does. However, grounding yourself every day, it has to be done. Because if you have trauma or PTSD and you have ADD, or you have this, you're up here. Okay? So you're living in fight or flight. The more you ground yourself and start the day inside your own self, don't look at your phone, because that's your ground root of the day. Go get your feet on the ground. We're natural batteries. It clears you and it energizes you. Then you're starting out in your own energy. Then the rest of the world does not affect you as much. So by people understanding, we have to take care of our energetic bodies, and you have to take care of your physical body. So, for example, with touching on you working out so much, and then I have to learn this and this and this, who are you really beating up?
Yeah. Well, I took over for my father and started beating myself up.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't realize that they are self-sabotaging their self and ending up being the bully to their self. And one way for people to realize that their programming is still hitting them from a child is, for example, let me say, I'm somebody who thinks I have a sad girl mentality. Why are there all these sad people around me? Why am I seeing all these sad experiences? Because you're drawing them to you. Our thoughts create our reality. you are in line with that energy. So if you imagine we had like a balloon around ourselves, and I have this trauma and I poke a little hole in here, there's going to be an air hole where something else can also come into myself. So until we plug all those holes, heal those holes, we're going to still end up having those type of traumas. We're going to see it in someone else. We're going to have a reminder at the grocery store. We're going to see little signs that are reminding us until we heal that.
If you spot it, you got it.
If you spot it, you got it. If you spot it, you got it.
Exactly.
Well, you've been so generous with your time today. I wonder if we can have you leave the listeners and viewers with 3 things that they might do to start a healing journey.
3 things they might do to start a healing journey. Well, 1, I would ground yourself. As I said before, just learn on just getting your feet on the ground, on the earth, and just literally everyone's like, oh my gosh, meditation. When they think they have to start meditating, they're like, I have to sit here like a perfect, blah, blah, blah. Go for a walk for 3 minutes and focus on your breath. Just focus on your foot, each foot hitting the ground. Dance for 5 minutes. There are so many different ways. Do art if you like to do art. There's so many different ways to get yourself into your own type of meditation. Say you like to play music. Make sure you're giving that time to yourself. Another way I would start to your healing journey is try new things. Every time you try new things, you create space for a positive perspective. So even if it's, okay, I'm stuck, I feel stuck in this way, take a different way home from work. Go to brush your teeth with your opposite hand in the morning.
Nothing changes. Nothing changes.
Change up things, and that's what creates that motivation and that excitement of new things. So anytime you're stuck, change that perspective. Go look in a different room. Don't stay still. Get yourself out to see new things. I always say, look at something that's bigger than yourself. So if you live around nature, you live around the beach or a mountain, look at the mountain. It will put you into perspective really fast. It's all about changing your perspective. And the third is, if you put out to the universe, I'm ready to heal. Please send me a healer to help me. That person will show up in your life when you need it. Follow the signs. There are signs, and everybody, you can't say there aren't. Like, they're very obvious. Follow those signs, and fake it till you make it. If you don't believe in yourself right away, fake it till you make it. They say, like, half smile when you don't want to smile. Try to smile. It still releases those same chemicals. If you shut your eyes, imagine you're at the beach, your subconscious can't tell whether you're at the beach or not.
Yeah.
So you have more power over your brain than you believe.
Wow. Great.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was a pleasure. And thank you so much for your knowledge and your authenticity. I mean, yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it. And thank you for having me, this podcast for people to be able to open up and talk about these things that need to be talked about to make other people feel included. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for our listeners and our viewers out there, follow us on all the things. We'll have all of Missy's information out there as well. And you can follow all the socials and learn more. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Have a wonderful day.
Hey now.
Hey now.
What the what? What the what?
I like it.
What?